HOA Karen's 911 call backfired. My wife's badge changed everything. Imagine this. Your wife is walking peacefully through your own neighborhood, minding her business, when suddenly a nosy HOA Karen calls the cops on her, accusing her of carrying a gun. But here's the twist. When the officers arrived, instead of handcuffing her, they stood at attention and saluted. What could turn a false accusation into a moment of pure respect? Stick with me to the end because this story will leave you speechless. But before we dive in, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story like this one. Now let's get into it. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood. The lawns were freshly trimmed, kids were riding their bikes, and my wife, Angela, decided to take a short walk around the block after finishing her morning chores. She wore her casual workout clothes and, as always, carried her small crossbody bag on her hip. From a distance, it might have looked bulky, but to anyone paying attention, it was clearly just a bag. Unfortunately, in this neighborhood, we had one problem that never seemed to go away. Karen. Karen was the self-appointed watchdog of the HOA. She believed every person's actions needed her approval, and if she thought something didn't fit her vision of the perfect community, she acted as if she had police powers herself. Today, she spotted my wife walking past her house and froze. To Karen's suspicious eyes, Angela's crossbody bag looked like a gun holster. Without even blinking, she whipped out her phone and dialed 911, reporting that a dangerous woman was openly carrying a firearm in the neighborhood. Not 10 minutes later, the calm neighborhood was broken by the flashing lights of two police cruisers pulling into the street. Doors swung open, and two officers quickly stepped out, hands hovering near their holsters. Neighbors peeked through curtains, and some even stepped outside, curious about what was happening. Angela, completely unaware of the drama, kept walking down the street until she noticed the cars. She stopped, confused, as one officer called out, "Ma'am, please stop right there." Her heart skipped, not because she had done anything wrong, but because the situation escalated so suddenly. She slowly raised her hands, unsure of what was going on. Karen, of course, came rushing out of her yard, pointing dramatically at Angela. "That's her," she cried. "She's carrying a gun in broad daylight. Arrest her before she hurts someone." The officers exchanged glances, keeping their tone cautious but professional. "Ma'am, can you tell us what's on your side there?" one asked, gesturing toward Angela's crossbody bag. Angela, still calm but slightly irritated, replied, "It's just my bag. Would you like me to show you?" The officers nodded, but before she moved, she added firmly, "And for the record, you should know I'm law enforcement too." "Let me show you my badge." Angela slowly unzipped her bag and pulled out a leather badge holder. The sunlight glinted off the golden emblem as she held it up for the officers to see. Clear as day, it read, "Detective Angela Miller, City Police Department." For a moment, the air went still. The officers' eyes widened, and they immediately adjusted their posture. In seconds, their cautious stances transformed into formal respect. Both men straightened up, gave her a sharp salute, and one said, "Detective Miller, our apologies. We didn't realize we were speaking to a fellow officer." The neighbors, who had been whispering from the sidelines, gasped in shock. Some even pulled out their phones, recording the scene as they realized the woman Karen had accused wasn't just an innocent neighbor. She was a detective. Angela nodded graciously but didn't let the moment slide. "I understand you're just responding to a call," she said firmly. "But maybe next time, verify before escalating." And as for this neighbor, she cast a piercing glance at Karen, who was now shrinking into the background, her face red with embarrassment. Karen, who just minutes earlier was screaming about danger, suddenly looked like a child caught lying. I was just trying to protect the neighborhood," she stammered. Angela crossed her arms. Protect the neighborhood or harass your neighbors? Because there's a difference. One of the officers, clearly fed up, turned to Karen. Ma'am, filing false reports is a serious matter. You claimed this woman had a firearm when all she had was a purse. Do you realize what kind of danger your exaggeration put her in? Karen tried to defend herself. But it looked like a gun. I was just... Angela cut her off. You weren't just mistaken. You were eager to assume the worst about me, and you risked not only my safety, but also the safety of these officers. The neighbors, many of whom had been silently annoyed by Karen's antics for months, started to whisper louder. Some chuckled, others shook their heads. Karen's reign as the HOA busybody was crumbling before everyone's eyes. The officers didn't arrest her, but they did issue a stern warning. Ma'am, if you make another false 911 call like this, you could face charges. Consider this your final warning. With the situation diffused, the officers turned back to Angela. One spoke respectfully. Detective Miller, thank you for your professionalism. We'll note this as a false report in our records. Sorry again for the disturbance. Angela smiled slightly, appreciating their professionalism once the truth came out. Thank you, officers. Stay safe out there. The officers gave her one last salute before heading back to their cars. The flashing lights dimmed, and soon the street was quiet again. But the damage to Karen's reputation was permanent. She had called the cops to try to embarrass Angela, yet the entire neighborhood had witnessed her being put in her place. From that day on, the whispers around the community shifted. No longer was Karen the self-appointed protector. She was the neighbor who cried wolf and got publicly humiliated for it. As for Angela, she walked back home with her head held high, not just as my wife, but as a woman who commanded respect in and out of uniform. And me? I couldn't have been prouder watching her handle the situation with strength, calm, and authority. In the end, the story wasn't about the false call. It was about respect. Respect earned, respect deserved, and respect shown when the badge came out. And that, my friends, is how a simple walk turned into a neighborhood showdown, all because of an HOA Karen who couldn't mind her own business. What started as an accusation of carrying a gun ended with the police saluting my wife's badge. Respect earned, respect deserved. This story proves one thing. Before you judge or assume, you'd better know who you're dealing with, because sometimes the person you're pointing fingers at is the one protecting your community. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another one. And let me know in the comments, what would you have done if Karen had called the cops on you? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.